This is Deano with Twisted Mesquite Land and Cattle. Today we're doing a review video with Deano. This is his 11th week in our program. We're going to go over 3 exercises we're working on with him. And these exercises are what we've been working on this past week. So we'll get started. Into last week, I was working on a lot of these yield in the hindquarters, and we're progressing, getting better, and he was getting to where he was just pretty much ignoring my foot, and I was kind of having to bump him with him and kind of encourage him to pay attention to that foot. And so this week I've added him and the other 2 colts that are all about the same place in training. I went ahead and started wearing my spurs, and with this horse specifically, those spurs just help. Spurs help with the connection. It helps with the direction, and just making sure that connection is clear, that cue is clear. And so with this yield in the hindquarters, I was having my foot, and he'd kind of respond a little bit, but he just really doesn't like you messing. It was still some disrespect there. He thinks he gets to bite or pin his ears at me for it, and it's getting better. The more we have him out here, being able to put more miles on him, getting some of that out of him, it'll get to where here pretty quick, probably this next week, I can start taking him outside, using him outside more, and we're going to be able to put some more longer miles on him, and it'll help get all of that nonsense out of him. Because up to this point, he hasn't really, we have asked him to work, we've asked him to do what we want him to do, all the stuff, but I wouldn't say we've had any big long days. And certain horses just need some of that for their just mental space. They start to work, and they start really working and having to sweat, and it just kind of gets them, it kind of rocks their world, kind of shocks their system. And after that, they're like, hey, this isn't such a bad deal to be in here in the arena and just do a little bit of exercises, just work a little bit, just do a little bit of what he's wanting me to do. It's sure a lot better, a lot easier than going outside and trotting up and down canyons for 2, 3, 4 miles. And that's one of the benefits that we have being out here, is we can go take these colts on these long rides, go out through cattle, go check water, things of that nature, keep them safe, keep them in a good environment, but then at the same time put some miles on them that helps them mature and get to where they're paying attention and listening. So I'm putting a little more pressure here, and all that penny-eared, not listening to me stuff. Again, that's what we're talking about. That's where these long miles, just riding them more, is going to help. It's gotten a lot better. Like his mentality, just moving free out here. Since we've got him in this big pen, things have helped a lot. And so I know it'll continue to get better, continue to improve. There. Just waiting for him to get soft right there. There. See, and that's good where I ask him to trot off and he just goes and throw a fit about it. And that's how I want him to do everything. If I'm just sitting there brushing him, I want him just to sit there, not have a problem with it. If I, ask him to move his hip, I want him to do it, not have a problem with it. Whatever we want that willing attitude. There. I was waiting for him to do it consistently with some cadence, and then get soft. A horse that has that kind of attitude, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't help anything. The only thing that's going to help is miles and patience. Miles and patience. Consistent miles and patience. Rewarding the right behavior. Wait for him to yield instead of walking around in a circle. Yield. There. As I was saying, the opposite of putting the miles and having patience, rewarding the right behavior, the opposite of that is just beating on him or getting onto him, kicking his butt every time he acts that way. Now, there may be a point where some of that is needed, as if he were to go to bite me, step off and just kick his butt a little bit, because, that's not acceptable. Let him know, hey, you can't do that. But the alternative, like I said, that's our training plan, is to put miles under his feet, spend time riding him out here, being patient with him. And if we have an ego in this training deal, that's when you can get in a fight with these horses. It's like, oh, well, you suckers should be riding better than this, or you need to listen to me, or you should be doing better, or you're making me look bad in front of such whoever. And another thing to think about is if you are having trouble in a certain area, and especially with a colt, like maybe a beneficial thing for him. So we've been working on that exercise, right? And we've rewarding the right behavior, rewarding him doing a good job. A really beneficial thing, and it's probably what we'll just be doing for the next couple days, is just leave it alone. And what do I mean? So we have it on him if we need to. We have our wandering stop. We can stop him. Have all that stuff. So now we just put miles on him and kind of leaving him alone. Putting these miles on him for the next couple of days. Not trying to do anything with his body. Getting him to move his body. Any of that kind of stuff. Making sure we're definitely not picking on him. And let him just go to work. Let him just travel. And spend time getting to his mind and show him, say, hey, it's a lot better if you just listen and pay attention and do what I want you to do, rather than, go trot out 10 miles, say. In that instance, I'm not asking him to do anything other than just trot. I'll do it so long that it gets a horse thinking about doing something else and says, hey, these other things weren't so bad. Wasn't that big a deal? It's the same principle as if you're riding, a horse has trouble loading in a trailer, and he just got trouble loading the trailer, and it's hard for him, or he's anxious about it, or doesn't want to be in there, that kind of stuff. And then you go and go trot him 4 or 5 miles, load him, then go somewhere else, trot him 4 or 5 miles, load him back in there. Here in a minute, he's like, man, this trailer thing's pretty good. This is where I want to be. This is relaxing. This is where I get to rest and recuperate, and here in a minute, then those horses have no trouble loading, because it then became something that is enjoyable rather than a hard thing. That happens. I'm sure that anybody here listening or watching could think about times in their life they thought something was challenging, and then they went and did something that was actually challenging. They said, oh, that thing wasn't that bad. I don't know why I threw a fit about it for years maybe. But so anyway, that yield in the hindquarters, that's kind of where we are. As I said, this next week, let's just spend some time putting some miles on this horse and see how that kind of gets through his mind, breaks through his mind there. It's not hard to get around. Just we can be making a lot more progress without that in the way. But we're certainly close to having that big breakthrough. The horse is just willing. He's excited. He's ready. Doesn't take much to warm him up. You can just get on him and go right to teaching him something. So this other thing, the next thing we work on after our yield in the hindquarters is this bending at the walk. Just getting this horse wrapping around my leg, getting soft to my leg here. I'm just going to show you kind of what we're working on. I want him to walk this circle, and when I pick this rein up, I want him to wrap around my leg, get soft to my leg, and bring his head in and get soft to that rein. And just follow his nose around that circle. And it's more of this, him not being sour to our feet. It'll help. But it's like I want this horse to think, hey, what does his feet mean? What does he want me to do? Rather than, oh, something's touching me, I should bite it, or it's like, oh, something is bothering me, something is touching my skin, something is around me, this person's around me. Like, I want this horse to think about, hey, this person's here, what do I get to do? What's my job? What are we here to do? That willing, excited attitude. We'll do some transitions from the trot back down to that. We'll do some transitions from the lope back down to that, and then progress him. He's close to starting to stop him two-handed, teaching him to get soft to that rein, stop. And then from there, you'll be teaching them to back up, which is exciting. So overall, a pretty successful ride. Kind of shows you where we are with him, where we're taking him, what our plans are. Every horse has something a little different going on with him, something to overcome, something to work through, something to help him with. And that's our job. That's why we're out here. That's the service we provide is starting these horses and putting a foundation onto them where they're willing and excited and ready to do the job that they're going to be doing coming out of this program. So we'll about to rain on us, so we'll get wrapped up here, put him up, and catch you on the next one.